Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions. Mary Crocker Cook, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. Like we talked about before we hit record, everybody has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. So with your permission, we're going to start with where you were born, go all the way up to today. And then we want to talk about these amazing books that you've written, and actually this new one that you have coming out called Bad Taste.
That's lovely. I'm happy to do it.
Thanks again for being here.
Of course.
So where were you born?
Okay, I was born in Norfolk, Virginia. I am the child of military. My father was career Navy.
There you go.
So I spent most of my life up and down the East Coast, and came out here when I was in high school. And my family, after he was done, because he would often be out to sea. So once he was off the last ship, they went back to Philadelphia, and I stayed here because by then I had started college.
Where's
so
here?
I never went back east.
Where's here?
I'm sorry?
Where's here? You keep talking
I'm
about
sorry, California. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's right. You're not with her.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, so
okay.
I came out to California, stayed in California. They returned back east. And eventually he retired, and all of my family's located in North Carolina.
I got you. So you grew up in California?
No, I did not grow up. I came out here in high school. So
Okay,
I grew up and down the East Coast.
Gotcha.
We moved every
Okay.
2 to 3 years. Yes.
So what was your favorite thing about growing up on the East Coast?
You know, I loved the change of the seasons, actually, which is more pronounced in the East Coast. The other piece of it is culturally, in some ways, I'm a better fit in the sense that I tend to speak quickly. I tend to think quickly in the northern areas. In fact, the place where I was happiest was New Jersey.
Okay.
Where even though my family's Southern. So I think the hardest part for me, even as an adult, is in California, the general culture is nicety and don't hurt people's feelings.
Yeah.
And my natural tendency is to be more direct and to be, less careful in what I say.
Right.
And so when I think about the people close to me, they often have come from the East Coast and transplanted out here to California.
I got you. Okay. That's an interesting observation. That's cool.
Yeah.
So in high school, did you have a favorite subject?
Actually, in high school, I was going to be an English teacher. That was my favorite subject. But most of my time was spent in music and theater. So I was, that's where I spent a lot of my time and energy. And in fact, and when I came out here to California, I continued to do theater. And what was important about that is it creates a culture where I can fit, because again, I came out and every time you move, you have to start over.
Yeah.
Okay? And so what's nice about having something like that is there's a place to start. For my sister, it was athletics. And for me, it was music and theater.
Yeah.
And so that sort of was kind of a through line, which helped me engage over time.
Did you have a favorite teacher in high school?
I had a favorite subject. I'll be honest, I don't remember. I remember my teacher, and I do not remember her name. And I'm sorry about that. But she was an English teacher, and she was the reason I wanted to be an English teacher.
Oh, there you go.
She was absolutely and particularly literature.
Yeah.
However, when I went to college, there was an English teacher glut at the time, no jobs. And my minor was psychology, because I also like psychology. And so I wound up flipping them and have been in psychology ever since. But,
Gotcha.
In my heart, I'm still an English, dork.
Oh, I love it. Isn't it amazing how teachers can be so inspirational to us?
Absolutely.
Just they have such an impact. you know?
They do. And my grandmother was a teacher, and I always wanted to be a teacher. In fact, I used to teach my stuffed animals. I would do like homework assignments with my stuffed animals. So it was clearly something I was designed to do. It was a matter of what was I going to teach, and it turned out to be psychology.
Yeah, that's cool. Growing up, who was the most influential person to you?
Oh, my grandmother, hands down. My mother's mother, my granny Bet. Yeah, she was the maternal, in my mind, maternal source of love. I could do no wrong. My grandmother adored me. I was the first grandchild. And I was very much like both grandmothers in that I like to use my hands. I'm also an artist. So there was a lot, but we all like to read. So my grandmothers, I would say together, really, really helped shape me who I am now.
What did your dad do in the Navy?
My dad was a supply officer.
Oh, okay.
So he would, when he was on carriers, he's the guy that was in charge of making sure they had enough food to last for 6 months to a year.
That's important.
They called it the pork chops, right? So they were the guy that made sure that everybody had everything they needed. Yeah. So my father, even when he was home, if you sent him to the store, would come home with like 3 pounds of carrots. You know what I mean? Like,
wow.
He had a really hard time with small quantities. Yeah. Because that's just his head.
That's the habit, right? They used to make biscuit dough in buckets, like great big, huge, right? I had a great uncle that was my great uncle Larry that fought in the Vietnam War, and he was a cook on one of the aircraft carriers. And so he would make biscuits for 3,000 people.
There you go.
Right. And then he would go up and man the guns on the carrier, and the sailors would eat.
There you go.
Right. So he'd be the cook up, right? He'd be keeping watch. So yeah, it was wild. Absolutely wild. He made the best biscuits. So he would come into town and make us biscuits, right?
Oh, good for him.
The good news was he didn't make 3,000 of them, right? But he would tell us about how he would make literally this thing.
It's such I can't even wrap my head around.
Unbelievable, right? They just stamp
3 miles, 3 times a day.
Yeah.
3 times a day.
Yeah.
Plus snacks in between. I mean, good Lord, that's a lot of people to feed.
Well, those are still growing boys, right? You gotta feed them,
Yeah, and they're like 19, 20 years old.
My son's 26 years old, 6'4", wears a size 14 men's shoe, and eats every 15 minutes, right? Like, I can't even imagine trying it, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly. If it wasn't for food trucks, he'd absolutely starve. Anyway, so after you graduate from high school, you go to college. Where do you go and why?
I went to a little college called California Baptist College in Southern California because a friend of mine was there. It is that simple. No deep thought. My friend Chris was there, and honestly, I didn't know where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
And I went on a music scholarship, which paid half my tuition.
Yeah.
And so that's the other piece. And so what I had to do was during the interterm between semesters, we were in a traveling choir. And we had to go up and down the West Coast, part of I guess trying a recruitment thing.
Yeah.
But we sing in churches, that kind of thing. So that's what I had to do for my tuition, which is fine. That's what I did.
Yeah.
So that worked out.
And then I transferred
to San Jose State and did my graduate degree.
So you graduated with a undergrad degree in psychology.
Yeah.
And a minor in English?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you decide to go to graduate school. Where do you go?
San Jose State. And
why did you choose San Jose State, and why did you choose to go to graduate school?
Well, it was local for one thing, but the other piece of it was I did graduate school because of the psychology degree. You can do almost nothing with a bachelor's level degree. And so my options, if I wanted to work, were very limited.
Yeah.
So it was either change what I was going to do, or I needed to keep studying.
Gotcha. So what degree did you earn in graduate school?
It's a degree in counseling.
Okay.
Master's in counseling.
Okay.
Yeah, because I wanted to be, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist.
Okay.
And so that way I could sit for the boards and be able to practice as a therapist.
Gotcha. So after college, where do you go?
Well, after college, college or graduate school.
Actually, after graduate school. Yeah.
After graduate school, well, by then I was already working in the field because you have to do 3,000 hours to sit for the exam.
Wow.
So
Just to sit for the exam?
Yes. So
Wow.
I was already working at that point. And so I just have been working ever since. I've been in practice since 1988. I started Connections Counseling Associates in 1993. And so I've been doing that ever since. Now, in 1989, one of my internships was at San Jose City College.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the opportunity to start teaching. And then within a year, I was able to start an addiction studies program because they didn't have one. And so I was able to create the alcohol and drug studies program and have been there ever since. So I've always taught and then been in private practice simultaneously through all this time.
So the 3,000 hours that you had to perform, was that internship or was that actually okay? So you had
back then they didn't pay you.
Yeah.
Now they pay you. Now when I, like for my intern, I have to hire her. I have to employ her, right?
Right.
Back then you didn't even get paid. So.
Yeah. Thanks, Google. Right.
Yeah, I know. Actually, I did get a paid internship. It was very exciting. I was one of the only people in my class, and it was $7 an hour, and I was so excited.
Yeah. Just even a little bit, right?
A little bit.
Every little bit helps.
I'll take it.
So you're interning and you're accumulating these 3,000 hours, and that's just so you can sit for the exam.
Yeah.
Wow. That's just amazing.
Yeah, that's still true.
So in 1988, you start counseling, right? In 93, you decide to start your current company.
Yeah.
Right? Counseling Associates. And talk a little bit about the mindset of deciding to open your own company, and what was it that made you do it, and what was the number one thing that you learned?
Okay. Well, it was born of necessity.
Okay.
So when I graduated, I was hired in an agency, but I was also doing contract work.
Right.
And at one point, there was a drop in the industry, and my contracts began to close.
Okay.
And so I was either going to have to find a full-time job, which I did not want,
right,
because I was also teaching, or I was going to have to bite the bullet and do my own thing.
Gotcha.
So I took a deep breath. The first year, I think I made $11,000. It was really frightening, but it was the right thing to do. And it allowed me again to keep teaching because I didn't want to give up part-time teaching. I ran my program part-time for 25 years. I have only been full-time probably for the last 7. So I'm not, so it was really, and then I had some friends around the same time that also wanted to get office space.
Yeah.
Because I had a little office by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it would be more fun actually to have colleagues.
Yeah.
So we got together and we started it.
Invention, right? You got to just figure out a way to make it.
Plus, that was when managed care was really big.
Yeah.
And managed care was all about, forming groups and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, everything just sort of funneled into doing it at that time.
Gotcha. So for 25 years, you were part-time counseling and then part-time teaching?
So I've always done therapy, probably 25 hours a week.
Okay.
And then I've always taught at least 3 classes or more. Because sometimes I'd be teaching 3 classes at City College and another 2 classes at JFK Graduate School.
Wow.
So I've always, done a lot of different things. I've started treatment programs. I've done a lot of things over time.
Okay. So a couple of questions. In the teaching that you did all those years, what's the number one thing you learned? And then same thing for the counseling that you've done for 25 years part-time, having your own practice.
Right. Okay, so for teaching, what I mostly have learned is that I'm never done learning because they teach me constantly.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm forced to be current. It's one of the reasons I always teach.
Yeah.
It forced me to be current because they ask good questions.
Yeah.
Right. And I started teaching, pre-online.
Yeah.
So I was teaching back in the 80s, right? Where people would ask you questions. You'd have to say, I don't know. I'm going to have to go look that up.
Right.
Now we can just look it up. But anyway,
Right.
so I'm always going to have to be learning because they're going to push me to do it.
Yeah.
And so I role model that.
Yeah.
If I don't know something, I don't know. Right. And I said, let's look it up. Like normalizing learning.
I got
Right?
you. I got
And
you.
then what have I learned from clients?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's resilient. It's astonishing how resilient we are. Astonishing.
So in owning your own practice all of these years, what's the one thing you would advise somebody who's thinking about starting their own company to not do?
Do not expect to have financial security.
Yeah.
It's going to be rocky. Your income is going to go up and down.
Mm-hmm.
So if you need to be honest with yourself about what you need to see financially. Because I did not have a children,
Mm-hmm.
I could take financial risks. Somebody who had a family may not be able to do, and you need to be honest with yourself. And I've had interns wind up not doing this because they didn't count on that.
Yeah.
What they really needed was a 40-hour week job.
Gotcha.
That's what they really needed. So you need to be honest with your level of risk taking and financial. Can you roll with it?
Gotcha.
Because sometimes people come in and they don't. Yeah.
So you've done a lot of teaching over the years.
Yeah.
May I ask why you taught as much as you have over the years?
Oh, because they're my favorite audience for one thing. I'm a ham. I will always be a theater geek, and I play with them all the time. And right now I'm on sabbatical writing a textbook, and I'm miserable. Everyone who knows me knows this was a terrible idea. Terrible. I cannot wait to get back to the classroom. Yeah, it's just what I'm designed to do.
Yeah.
My learning style is just to teach to say what I've learned.
Right.
And counseling is not ever about me.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, which is as it should be. So I don't have a place to actually, for example, in therapy, things will happen, engagement, I will happen, I'll learn something, right? I'll take it immediately into the classroom and I'll say, okay, let me tell you what I learned about this today. Right? Which keeps the teaching current.
Right.
I don't have anywhere to do that.
You don't have an outlet. You need an outlet.
I miss my peeps.
Well, it's a good thing we're doing this interview, right?
I'm telling you, I love podcasts right now. I'm like, please, just talk to me.
I just need human interaction. Right?
I mean, I do counseling all day long, but again, I can't tell stories. You know what I'm saying? Tell me about your mother. You know what I'm saying? It's not about me.
Right. Exactly. No, I totally agree. That's so funny. I love that. So how long's your sabbatical?
It's a school year. So they pay me, and God bless me. I mean, talk about a first world problem. You know, they're paying me to not be in the classroom for a year, to finish. I'm writing a book on attachment infused addiction treatment. So it's addiction. It's a theory of addiction treatment from attachment-based theory. And I have an outpatient program that I do this theory in. And so I'm writing the textbook that I will then use in school when I return. So I'm doing a online version and a hardback version. Okay. So that's what I'm doing.
So for people like me that have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, can you explain it?
Absolutely. I can tell you that. Basically, the tagline for my program is when vodka makes more sense than people. Oh. And the basic premise is that because of early attachment challenges, we do not attach to people. We wind up attaching to substances in order to stay safe and to feel secure.
Okay.
And so for a certain subset of people, when you try to get clean and sober, traditionally they want you to do 12-step programs. They want you to, engage with people in order for ongoing support.
Right.
If I have that early childhood attachment disruption, I will not be able to utilize that level of support. And so treatment will fail over and over again. And I'll think there's something wrong with me. And the truth is, I need to learn the skills to attach to somebody to let them help me. Okay?
So it's a trust issue?
Huge one. Trust. It's not even believing that people, basically you don't believe people can be part of helping any situation you're in. You kind of are going to have to figure it out yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so allowing somebody else to be part of figuring it out with you does require a tremendous amount of trust.
Because you have to open up to them. And part of what causes substance abuse, right, is all the skeletons from all those years ago.
And again, in this case, the most stable, secure opportunity for me is the substances themselves.
Right.
Because people are unreliable, people can be abusive, people can disappear.
Mm-hmm.
I can get vodka.
Yeah. Yeah. Vodka never betrays you, right?
It doesn't. And it makes me feel better temporarily. It does. Yeah. Because it's a sedative.
So let me ask you this, because it intrigues me.
Sure.
And I don't know if there's an answer for this. So I'm really good at asking questions that there's not an answer for. Okay. So you got my warning, right?
Okay.
Could you give us an example? Obviously, don't use names, but could you give us an example of when somebody was betrayed in their childhood that created that sort of detachment?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this idea. Okay, kind of a thing I see a lot of is parental unavailability for a variety of reasons. Okay, so like in my case, my father was deployed for a year, 6 months at a time. Okay, and sometimes it's not on purpose. It's not because I don't love. In fact, being unavailable doesn't necessarily have anything to do with love. Right. It could be that my folks are incarcerated. It could be that my mom is clinically depressed and never comes out of her room. Okay, right. There's a lot of reasons, emotionally, if not physically, people are unavailable.
Gotcha.
And so, few things happen. One, because all of that unavailability creates anxiety. Mm-hmm. So one thing I might do is learn a lot of behaviors to try to force people to give me attention. Okay. A lot of anxiety-based stalking and throwing tantrums and force you. Okay. There's another subset of people who are more avoidant, and they have a tendency to give up asking anything. Like, my best way to maintain this relationship with you is to be needless and wantless. Like, the less I'm present, the better, because you're calmer if I don't want anything. If I start to ask you for things or need anything, I can see that it agitates my parents. They get all, they can't handle it. Mm-hmm. So I learned very early, okay, I got this. I'll handle my business. So I don't ask for help or say I need anything. And I figure out how to take care of myself. And then probably around 14 or 15, I go to my first party. Yeah. And I have the same anxiety as the person who's forcing attention. Mm-hmm. It's just inside of me. So I go to my first party and someone hands me a joint, someone hands me a beer, and I drink it and I feel better. Like, oh. And I calm down.
So the anxiety drops.
And I calm down.
Yeah.
And it's like somebody just handed me an amazing solution. Oh.
Wow.
Right? How it's supposed to work is, as a kid, if I'm agitated or I'm afraid of something, I go to my parent and I say, hey, and they reassure me, they can soothe me. But again, if they're unavailable or they're strung out themselves, like they're constantly running around the room without a head, there's no room for me to have myself soothed by a person. Yeah. But wow, substances, opiates, whoa.
Yeah.
The anxiety calms.
Wow.
Till it wears off and then I'm sick again. But yeah.
Unreal.
It makes perfect sense to me. So my particular love is for the feral people, though. Not necessarily, in terms of style, I tend to be more geared toward the ones that that are needless and wantless and have a much harder time. I think of them as they're the deer people, where I have to put oats in my hand and I have to put it out there and have to let them. It takes a long time for them to trust. Mm-hmm. And so I created a program for non-joiners, because
Wow.
the anxious people will join. Okay?
Right.
The internal anxious ones, they don't join anything. So
Yeah.
my specialty is the non-joiner, the person that is goosey, really goosey about other people and sees them vaguely as threatening. And so those are my guys.
So you mentioned that they're comforted to an extent by substances. Are they also comforted by isolation?
Yeah. People are a threat. People are a source of anxiety. People are a source of stress.
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.